Hello everyone, this is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul. I'm here with my wife, Reverend Diane Paul, and my group online, the Paul Kiddies. And tonight we're working on paper 59 and we're on section 4. That's 59.4.1 and it starts on page 678.2. And if you're joining us from home, you can see the first part of this paper online. Right. This is part 2. Alright, so let's say a little prayer and we'll get started tonight. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. Thank you for this wonderful weather we're having and the rain coming soon. We always need it. We thank you for all of our many blessings over Easter, and we pray that you'll watch over us tonight and open our hearts and minds that we might learn something and share it with others. We say this in your Son's name, Jesus of Nazareth, and Michael of Nevedon. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, section 4, the Great Land Emergence Stage, the vegetative land life period, the ages of fishes. And if y'all see me itching, I've got poison ivy all over me, so that's why I keep scratching. I'm trying not to. Let's see, Tim, would you like to start us off tonight?
Yes, I would. In the age-long struggle between land and water, for long periods the sea has been comparatively victorious, but times of land victory are just ahead, and the continental drifts have proceeded. Have not proceeded so far, but that, at times, practically, all of the land of the world is connected by slender, how do you pronounce
isthmuses.
Yeah, isthmuses, and narrow land bridges.
Okay, so the land is basically connected by little strips of land.
What's that word, Roger?
Isthmuses. That's what they're talking about. Little strips of land, slender strips of land that probably big enough that animals and people could cross, but there's no animals, people to cross it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting to see them.
Yeah.
We do still have isthmuses today.
Yes.
We do, that's true, yeah.
It's true.
Few and far between, but
It's just we're here now.
Yeah. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
yes. As the land emerges from the last Silurian inundation, an important period in world development and life evolution comes to an end. It is the dawn of a new age on Earth. The naked and unattractive landscape of former times is becoming clothed with luxuriant verdure, and the first magnificent forest will soon appear. Yay!
Do you know what that is, Roger? That Silurian?
Yeah, inundation. That's yeah.
Didn't we have that last week?
That's what we had last week. That's that period of time they're talking about where the emergence of the crustaceans happened, basically. Okay, so that's what they're talking about.
So, does anyone know the definition of verdure?
No.
Verdure?
Luxuriant verdure? That I don't know. No, I sure
I've
don't.
never heard of the word.
I wish I could look it up.
Yeah.
I think it just means green stuff.
Yeah, I think it does
Yeah.
too. But
It
Landscaping.
might be a
I'll
specific,
try and look it up for you, Rodney.
like a specific kind of green stuff, like maybe mold.
yeah, maybe. All right, let's keep going. Rodney, would you take the next one while he's looking that up?
I sure will. The marine life of this age was very diverse due to the early species segregation. But later on, there was free commingling and association of all these different types.
It's not.
The,
It won't hold her. I'm sorry, Rodney.
the brachiopods,
Arthropods.
Sorry, Rodney.
We're having fun here.
So,
Lost a cat.
well, Kind of.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Rodney, for interrupting. Go ahead.
The brachiopods really reached their climax, being succeeded by the arthropods, and barnacles made their first appearance. But the greatest event of all was the sudden appearance of the fish family. This became the age of fishes, that period of the world's history characterized by the vertebrate type of animal.
Okay, so just the vertebrates are just emerging in the ages of fishes. Sorry, y'all. Okay, Diane, you take the next one.
270 million years ago, the continents were all above water. In millions upon millions of years, not so much land had been above water at one time. It was one of the greatest land emergence epics in all world history.
Tim, did you find the definition to that
Yes,
one?
I did. It's spelled Luxuriate. Is that correct? But this one says, yeah, luxuriate. It says to grow profusely, thrive, to develop extensively, to indulge oneself luxuriously. I don't.
Luxuriously. No, we were talking about the word per
I know the definition.
Vendure or
We
something.
know luxuriant. We
Oh,
look
the
for the
VRDURE. Okay, let me try that one. Okay, no problem. Okay. You want me to read, Roger?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find it because I've been.
Oh no, it's Diane's turn to read. No,
No, I just read.
Oh, did you?
Okay, yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead,
it's
Diane.
mine.
It's Roger's turn.
My turn,
Roger's
sorry.
turn.
5 million years later, the land areas of North and South America, Europe, Africa, Northern Asia, and Australia were briefly inundated. In North America, the submergence at one time or another being almost complete, and the resulting limestone layers from 500 to 5,000 feet in thickness. These various Devonian seas extended first in one direction and then in another, so that the immense Arctic North American inland sea found an outlet to the Pacific through northern California.
Oh,
Interesting.
how in the world that happened?
Squeezed itself down through California, didn't it? Okay. Did you find that other word, Tim? You ready yet?
Not yet. I'm looking.
Okay. While he's looking, why don't you go on, Billy, with the next one?
Would you like me to read?
Yeah, go ahead if you're ready.
It's 270 million years ago. The continents were
260.
above.
We're at 460.
260, yeah. 260 million years ago, toward the end of this land depression epic, North America was partially overspread by seas having simultaneously connected with the Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, and Gulf waters. The deposits of these later stages of the first Devonian
Yes.
flood average about 1,000 feet in thickness. The coral reefs characterizing these times indicate that the inland seas were clear and shallow. Such core deposits are exposed in the banks of the Ohio River near Louisville, Kentucky, and are about 100 feet thick, embracing more than 200 varieties. These core formations extend through Canada and northern Europe to the Arctic regions.
But you didn't know there was coral in the middle of the United States, did you? All right. Millie, would you take the next one?
Following these submergences, many of the shorelines were considerably elevated so that the earlier deposits were covered by mud or shale. There is also a red sandstone substratum, a stratum, which characterizes one of the Devonian sedimentations. And this red layer extends over much of the Earth's surface, being found in North and South America, Europe, Asia, China, Africa, and Australia. Such red deposits are suggestive of arid or semi-arid conditions, but the climate of this epoch is still mild and even.
Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yeah, it makes you wonder. They talk about clay or what's
Well,
the substance of red layer?
It's probably more iron ore type stuff, Rodney.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Georgia red clay.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't think so.
Throughout all of this period, the land southeast of the Cincinnati Island remained well above water. But very much of Western Europe, including the British Isles, was submerged. In Wales, Germany, and other places in Europe, the Devonian rocks are 20,000 feet thick. Holy mackerel.
That's pretty deep, isn't it?
I've got a short answer here. I did the research on the internet.
Okay.
It says here, verdure, lush green vegetation. And then I'll do a little bit more. Hold on, let me click on this one. Yeah, greenness, especially of fresh, flourished vegetation. Green vegetation, especially grass or herbage. Freshness in general, flourishing, condition, vigor. Is that pretty good, Rodney?
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the research is over.
So that's a simple plant life.
Yeah. It's just a
Grassy.
luxurious green plant life. You know,
Almost like
grasses.
a carpet of green.
Yeah. Right.
Well, thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. That's interesting. Yeah.
I think you're right.
250 million years ago witnessed the appearance of the fish family. The vertebrates, one of the most important steps in all pre-human evolution.
The vertebrates. The vertebrates include fishes that have spinal cords, right? That's what they're talking about here. Okay. Arthropods or crustaceans were the ancestors of the first vertebrates. The forerunners of the fish family were two modified arthropod ancestors. One had a long body connecting a head and tail, while the other was a backboneless, jawless pre-fish. But these preliminary types were quickly destroyed when the fishes, the first vertebrates of the animal world, made their sudden appearance from the north.
Here's your word, Millie.
What? Sudden. Your word.
It's in parentheses.
Well, it's in, yeah.
What's
So their sudden is different than our sudden.
Yeah, there's the sudden.
So their sudden is a very long period of time.
I have a lot of highlighting in this area.
Yeah.
Fish and sudden and so forth.
Yeah.
And down further, suddenly prolific fern family. Suddenly.
That's a tongue twister. Okay, Tim, you're up next.
Many of the largest true fish belong to this age. Some of the teeth-bearing varieties being 25 to 30 feet long. The present-day sharks are the survivors of these ancient fishes. The lung and armored fishes reach their evolutionary apex, and before this epoch has ended, fishes had adapted to both fresh and salt waters.
Okay. Those are pretty long fish, 25 to 30 feet long.
Yeah, that's miraculous.
Yeah. All right. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Veritable bone beds of fish teeth and skeletons may be found in the deposits laid down toward the close of this period, and rich fossil beds are situated along the coast of California, since many sheltered bays of the Pacific Ocean extended into the land of that region. We ought to go digging in California.
Yeah, really. A lot of interesting things to find there, I'm sure. Rodney.
The Earth was being rapidly overrun by the new orders of land vegetation. Heretofore, few plants grew on land, except about the water's edge. Now, and suddenly, the prolific fern family appeared and quickly spread over the face of the rapidly rising land in all parts of the world. Tree types, 2 feet thick and 40 feet high, soon developed. Later on, these trees evolved, but these early varieties had only rudimentary foliage. There were many smaller plants, but their fossils are not found since they were usually destroyed by the still earlier appearing bacteria.
So the bacteria ate up a lot of the plants.
Okay, where'd the bacteria come from?
I know, I was about to ask that.
That comes from the mix also. The bacteria, you know, the life in plantation, the bacteria, the spores, things like that.
Little microscopic
Microscopic thing. The little spores is what's in poison ivy, which is driving me crazy. But that's what happens when you get poison ivy. You get one of those little spores from the plant, and it takes root, and then it spreads. You know, it'll keep spreading until you treat it to the point where it stops.
I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
As the land rose, North America became connected with Europe by land bridges extending to Greenland, and today Greenland holds the remains of these early land plants beneath its mantle of ice.
There you go. So when they do those ice tubes, you know, they sometimes find some of this stuff. You know?
It's coring.
Coring, there you go. 240 million years ago, the land over parts of both Europe and North and South America began to sink. These subsident marked the appearance of the last and least extensive of the Devonian floods. The Arctic seas again moved southward over much of North America and Atlantic, inundated a large part of Europe and Western Asia, while the southern Pacific covered most of India. This inundation was slow in appearing and equally slow in retreating. The Catskill Mountains along the west bank of the Hudson River, one of the largest geologic monuments of this epoch to be found on the surface of North America. Tell you what, there are so many references in this book for people to geologists and things like that. If they wanted to go explore it, all they have to do is look at it, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I've never seen the Catskill Mountains.
I don't believe I have either. Come think of it. If I did, I don't remember it. Tim, would you like to take the next one?
Who?
Tim?
Okay, yeah. 230 million years ago, the seas were continuing their retreat. Much of North America was above water, and great volcanic activity occurred in the St. Lawrence region. Mount Royal at Montreal is the eroded neck of one of these volcanoes. The deposits of this entire epoch are well shown in the
Appalachian Mountains.
Appalachian Mountains of North America, where the
Susquehanna.
How local are you?
Cascade Valley exposing these successive layers, which attain a thickness of over 113,000 feet.
That's interesting. Guess you're not going to drill down through that, are you?
So where, does anyone know where the Susquehanna River is?
Probably up where the Susquehanna Indians lived.
It sounds like around West Virginia.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
The elevation of the continents proceeded, and the atmosphere was becoming enriched with oxygen. The earth was overspread by vast forests of ferns 100 feet high, and by the peculiar trees of those days, silent forest. Not a sound was heard, not even the rustle of a leaf, for such trees had no leaves.
Can you imagine a 100-foot fern?
Could you imagine? And the peculiar trees with no leaves?
Trees?
Or imagine that with no sound. We're so accustomed to the sounds.
Yeah.
When you go outside, it's not quiet.
Yeah, it's not.
There are cicadas and crickets and
Birds,
buzzing bees
yeah.
and flapping birds and running squirrels throwing rocks and
Little Mondays and
It's just noisy out there.
Yep.
Can you imagine Imagine standing in the midst of those ferns and trees and it's silent.
Yeah.
Well, you know, ferns, even with a breeze, you can't hear them.
Right.
And in a tree with no leaves, yeah, it would be very silent.
Yeah.
No
Right.
birds, no insects, no animals to
Nothing.
make noises.
Right.
Very
Rodney?
quiet, very quiet.
Would you read the next one, Rodney?
Yes. And that's true to a close. One of the longest periods of marine life evolution, the age of fishes. This period of the world's history lasted almost 50 million years. It has become known to your researchers as the Devonian.
Period is the Devonian.
50
Right?
million years
Hey, Roger.
of silence.
And
Hey, Roger, what's the Devonian?
that's a period of time. That's a period or an epic of the development of the planet. Right?
It's after the Silurian
Yeah. 50 million years. So. it's
of
pretty long.
silence. That's
Yeah.
young.
And this this says fins become limbs. The fin of this fossil fish reveals the jointed bone structure that led to the evolution of four-legged animals. So that you can see there's a rudimentary spine here in this fish, and that's what led to the development of other animals. This is a sea scorpion. These are Eurypterids, are an extinct group of marine arthropods that are related to horseshoe crabs. So the horseshoe crab came from this. It's like an Indian, this is a glass sponge. Living glass sponges are found only in deep water, but they were once common at all depths. This is 377 to 367 million years old. This is the late Devonian period.
New
Okay.
York State.
Yeah. And this is, you can see a horseshoe crab here, I believe. Okay. And this is the early lobe finned fish.
What now?
Early lobe finned fish.
Early
Early
lobe.
lobe finned fish. You can see the scales on them here. Okay, about 374 million years old. And it was Gogo, Western Australia. Okay, foliage from the earliest trees. Alright, so this is one of the earliest trees, 374 to 362 million years old. Now this one has a few little leaves on it though. Okay, and this is the evolution of different kinds of fish. Alright, and these are fossils. There we go. From Madagascar. A fish. Alright. And another one. That looks like scales of a fish, doesn't it? These are all stones.
Halibut.
Yeah.
Or flounder.
Or flounder one, yeah. Or two. Let's see what this one is.
Looks like it's got a beak.
It does, doesn't it? Looks kind of fishy to me. Arr, arr, arr.
A bluegill.
And this is the cover for our meeting notice for today. And there's another one. You can see the outlines of the fins on the fish. Early shark. Looks like it kind of like a shark, doesn't it?
Wonder how old that is.
I don't know. It doesn't say on it. Let me go back here and see if I got a note on it. No, doesn't say. Okay, and this is a slide where you can click and see more Devonian fossil pictures from the Virtual Fossil Museum online. So you can see more if you'd like to. Okay, section 5. Who's up?
I think I am.
Okay.
5. The crustal shifting stage. The fern forest Carboniferous
Carboniferous.
period. The age of frogs. The appearance of fish during the preceding period marks the apex of marine life evolution. From this point onward, the evolution of land life becomes increasingly important, and this period opens with a stage almost ideally set for the appearance of the first land animals.
All right, what do you think that was?
Somebody frog.
Yes. Give her the rubber.
There's a frog right there.
There's a frog.
It's a paleobio or something.
Yeah. 220 million years ago, many of the continental land areas, including most of North America, were above water. The land was overrun by luxurious vegetation. Haha, since we know what that is now, right? This is indeed the age of ferns. Carbon dioxide is still present in the atmosphere, but is lessening degrees.
You know, it's interesting. On the way up to my remote cabin in Alaska, there's a fern forest, and the ferns are about 10 feet high.
Yeah.
Some may be 12. And I've always been overwhelmed about that, but 100 foot high?
100 foot high? Yeah. Well, 10 foot high ferns is pretty high. You know?
I know it.
Multiply that by 10, you know?
Mm.
That's pretty high. Tim, would you take the next one, please?
Shortly thereafter, the central portion of North America was
Inundated.
inundated, creating two inland seas. Both the Atlantic and Pacific coastal highlands were situated just beyond the present shorelines. These two seas presently united, commingling their different forms of life, and the union of these marine fauna marked the beginning of the rapid worldwide decline in marine life and the opening of the subsequent land life period.
Okay, so there were less fishes, more land dwelling animals eventually. All right, Millie, would you take the next one, please? Millie, you out there?
Turn your speaker.
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. I was looking for the Susquehanna River. It's in the northern part of Maryland, coming out of whatever's just above Maryland in the Tennessee Valley. 210 million years ago, the warm water Arctic seas covered most of North Africa and Europe.
America.
North America, sorry about that, North America and Europe. The South Polar waters inundated South America and Australia, while both Africa and Asia were highly elevated.
It's interesting they say the warm waters of the polar,
Yeah, back
the
then,
Arctic.
yeah, they were warm.
I guess the waters had to be warm if we're going to have fishes,
Yeah.
life growing in it. I know fishes like cold water, but
All right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
When the seas were at their height, and the development suddenly occurred abruptly, so that the first of the land animals appeared. There were numerous species of these animals that were able to live on land or in water. These air-breathing amphibians developed from the arthropods whose swim bladders had formed into lungs.
So basically, their gills, what gave them oxygen, the swim bladder through their gills, eventually turned into lungs. You know, so that's why they could go up on land. All right, so they'd have to probably go to the top to get air in that, interim period, right? All right, dear, what do you think of this?
From the briny waters of the seas there crawled out upon the land snails, scorpions and frogs. Today frogs still lay their eggs in water, and their young first exist as little fishes, tadpoles. This period could well be known as the Age of Frogs.
Very soon after the insects first appeared, and together with spiders, scorpions, cockroaches, crickets, and locusts, soon overspread the continents of the world. Dragonflies measured 30 inches long. 1,000 species of cockroaches developed, and some grew to be 4 inches long. Yeah, those are hefty,
I saw
little things.
a cockroach in Mexico that must have been 10 inches.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
All right, Tim, would you take the next one?
Two groups, is it echinoderms or chinoderms?
Yeah, probably either one would be correct.
Echinoderms.
Echinoderms became especially well developed, and they are in reality the guide fossils of this epoch. The large shell feeding sharks were also highly evolved, and for more than 5 million years they dominated the oceans. The climate was still mild and equable.
Equitable.
Yeah.
Equitable.
The marine life was little changed. Freshwater fish were developing, and the trilobites were nearing extinction. Corals were scarce, and much of the limestone was being made by the crinoids. The finer building limestone were laid down during this epoch.
All right, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes, more information about the Susquehanna River. It flows all the way through Pennsylvania.
Wow.
It runs through Harrisburg and then down southeast into Maryland, but from Harrisburg it goes north and spreads northwest, and just it keeps wandering, and it goes like a snake, ziggy, and exits into New York.
Wow, so it's pretty major.
It's a major.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Okay, where are we?
The waters of many of the inland seas.
The waters of many of the inland seas were so heavily charged with lime and other minerals as greatly to interfere with the progress and development of many marine species. Eventually the seas cleared up as a result of extensive stone deposit, in some places containing zinc and lead.
It's amazing how many millions of years these things developed, right? Barbara, would you take the next one?
The deposits of this early Carboniferous age are from 500 to 2,000 feet thick, consisting of sandstone, shale, and limestone. The oldest strata yield the fossils of both land and marine animals and plants, along with much gravel and basin sediment. Little workable coal is found in these older strata. These deposits throughout Europe,
Depositions.
these depositions, thank you, throughout Europe are very similar to those laid down over North America.
Okay.
Toward the close of this epoch, the land of North America began to rise. There was a short interruption, and the sea returned to cover about half of its previous beds. This was a short inundation, and most of the land was soon well above water. South America was still connected with Europe by way of Africa.
This epoch witnessed the beginning of the Vosges, Black Forest, and Ural Mountains. Stumps of other and older mountains are to be found all over Great Britain and Europe.
200 million years ago, the really active stages of the how do you pronounce that?
Carboniferous.
Carboniferous period began. For 20 million years prior to this time, the earlier core deposits were being laid down.
Coal deposits.
Okay, but now the more extensive core formation. Oh, coal. Yeah, it's coal. Yeah, I'm thinking it's core. Its coal formation activities were in process. The length of the actual coal deposition epoch was a little over 25 million years.
Ooh. It took 25 million years for these deposits to come into being. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
The land was periodically going up and down due to the shifting sea level occasioned by activities on the ocean bottoms. This crustal uneasiness, the settling and rising of the land, in connection with the prolific vegetation of the coastal swamps, contributed to the production of extensive coal deposits, which have caused this period to be known as the Carboniferous, and the climate was still mild the world over.
So the carbon, you can think of coal as being black, well it's high in carbon, right? So that's why they call it the Carboniferous period, right?
The coal layers alternate with stone and conglomerate. These coal beds over central and eastern United States vary in thickness from 40 to 50 feet. But many of these deposits were washed away during subsequent land elevations. In some parts of North America and Europe, the coal-bearing strata are 18,000 feet in thickness.
That's a lot of coal.
Yeah.
Hey, we got people working to get it out.
Yeah.
The presence of roots of trees as they grew in the clay underlying the present coal beds demonstrates that coal was formed exactly where it is now found. Coal is the water-preserved and pressure-modified remains of the rank vegetation growing in the bogs and on the swamp shores of this faraway age. Coal layers often hold both gas and oil. Peat beds, the remains of past vegetable growth, would be converted into a type of coal if subjected to proper pressure and heat. Anthracite has been subjected to more pressure and heat than other coal.
Oil and gas come from. In North America, the layers of coal in the various beds, which indicate the number of times the land fell and rose, vary from 10 in Illinois, 20 in Pennsylvania, 35 in Alabama, to 75 in Canada. Both fresh and saltwater fossils are found in the coal beds.
Throughout this epoch, the mountains of North and South America were active. Both the Andes and the southern ancestral Rocky Mountain rising. The Great Atlantic and Pacific high coastal regions began to sink, eventually becoming so eroded and submerged that the coastlines of both ocean withdrew to approximately their present positions. The deposits of this
Inundation.
Inundation averaged about 1,000 feet in thickness.
And these are the mass extinction of all time occurred 248 million years ago. About 90% of all marine species became extinct, especially the shallow water ones such as the sea scorpions and trilobites. So all these species died 248 million years ago. Okay?
Because of the line in the water?
Probably, yeah, because of the movement of the water up and down and the lime deposits and several different things, you know. So, all right.
190 million years ago witnessed the westward extension of the North American Carboniferous Sea over the present Rocky Mountain region, with an outlet to the Pacific Ocean through Northern California. Coal continued to be laid down throughout the Americas and Europe, layer upon layer, as the coastlands rose and fell during these ages of seashore oscillation.
These were long periods of time that this happened, right? Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
180 million years ago brought the close of the Carboniferous period, during which coal had been formed all over the world, in Europe, India, China, North Africa, and the Americas. And, at the close of the coal formation period, North America, east of the Mississippi Valley, rose, and most of this section has ever since remained above the sea. This land elevation period marks the beginning of the modern mountains of North America, both the Appalachian regions and in the West. Volcanoes were active in Alaska and California and in the mountain-forming regions of Europe and Asia. East America and Western Europe were connected by the continent of Greenland.
So they are all part of the same continent back then. All right.
Land elevation began to modify the marine climate of the preceding ages and to substitute therefore the beginnings of the less mild and more variable continental climate.
These plants and these times were spore-bearing, and the wind was able to spread them far and wide. The trunks of the carboniferous trees were commonly 7 feet in diameter and often 125 feet high. The modern ferns are truly relics of these bygone ages. So when you look out in the woods and you see these small ferns, remember they're the ancestors of these huge ferns. In general, yeah.
These were the epochs of development for freshwater organisms. Little change occurred in the previous marine life, but the important characteristics of this period was the sudden appearance of the frogs and their many cousins. The life features of the coral age were ferns and frogs.
Ferns and frogs. 6. Millie, would you take this one, please?
Yes. Number 6, the climatic transition stage, the seed plant period, the age of biologic tribulation. This period marks the end of pivotal evolutionary development in marine life and the opening of the transition period leading to the subsequent ages of land animals.
This age was one of great impoverishment. Thousands of marine species perished, and life was hardly yet established on land. This was a time of biologic tribulation, the age when life nearly vanished from the face of the earth and from the depths of the oceans.
That was that chart we just looked at, right? Okay.
Yeah. Toward the close of the long marine life era, there were more than 100,000 species of living things on Earth. At the close of this period of transition, less than 500 had survived.
Okay, so we went from 100,000 species of living things in the water, right? By the close of this period, there was only 500 that survived. Okay?
The peculiarities of this new period were not due so much to the cooling of the Earth's crust or to the long absence of volcanic action as to an unusual combination of commonplace and pre-existing influences, restrictions of the seas, and increasing elevation of enormous land masses. The mild marine climate of former times was disappearing, and the harsher continental type of weather was fast developing.
Okay. Before I go on and read this next one, I want y'all to think about something. You know how we're really concerned with being green and that sort of thing, and taking care of the earth, and that's today. Mm-hmm. Think about the coming up, the wave of things growing and disappearing, growing and disappear, growing. This is the normal thing for the world, right? And when people ask the question, well, why does God allow these things to happen, like volcanoes and earthquakes and all these things? This is the normal evolution of a planet, right? And God does not interfere with this evolution, right? He set up certain laws the way that planets evolved, and that's what happens. You know, it's just part of the evolution. So even though 100,000 species died, that's the normal evolution of the planet going to, so that the 500 species could survive and go on, right? And it's not that it's cruel or anything like that, it's just the normal stage of life, right?
Yeah.
All right. 170 million years ago, great evolutionary changes and adjustments were taking place over the entire face of the Earth. Land was rising all over the world as the ocean beds were sinking. Isolated mountain ridges appeared. The eastern part of North America was high above the sea. The west was slowly rising. The continents were covered by great and small salt lakes and numerous endless seas, which were connected by the oceans by narrow straits. The strata of this transition period vary in thickness from 1,000 to 7,000 feet. So where do you think the Great Salt Lake in Utah came from?
Same thing, yeah.
Same thing. That's right.
Okay. The Earth's crust folded extensively during these land elevations. This was a time of continental emergence, except for the disappearance of certain land bridges, including the continents which had so long connected South Africa with Africa and North America with Europe.
Millie, would you take the next one, please? There.
Yes. Gradually, the inland lakes and seas were drying up all over the world. Isolated mountains and regional glaciers began to appear, especially over the southern hemisphere. And in many regions, the glacial deposit of these local ice formations may be found even among some of the upper and later coal deposits. The two new climatic factors appeared. Glacial
Glaciation.
I can't get another syllable in there. Glaciation
Uh-huh.
and aridity. Many of the Earth's high regions had become arid and barren.
So,
Going back to Roger talking about it's natural that species form and then disappear and form and disappear.
Right.
Man is having a great influence on some of our species disappearing right now.
They are. They are. You know, our actions at this time not only affect us now, but they affect the generations and generations and generations to come. Right? So if we aren't good stewards of our land, our water, our air, and keep these things clean, then the generations to come pay the price for this, our lack of being responsible, right?
Which is evident by all the plastic bottles and plastic bags in the ocean, in the lakes, where there's suffocating fish and animals and creatures.
That's right.
So, hey, Roger, these disasters are natural physical laws that the Earth has established.
That's
so when somebody
correct.
says to you, you know, why did this happen? The flooding in Katrina, tornadoes, these are all part of the Earth's
natural progression.
Natural progression. It is. It's got nothing to do with how God feels about it or anything else. You know,
correct.
When people say, "Well, how does
we should be good stewards of the land and
That's right.
as it was given to us, and also of the animals."
That's right. It's our responsibility.
Overfishing and overhunting.
That's right.
Certain species.
Yeah, it's our responsibility to take care of the animals, take care of the land, take care of the water and the air. You know, we've been given these wonderful gifts to enjoy. We need to take care of them for future generations. It's just not ours to do it with as we wish. And when we have thousands and thousands of pets that are dying daily because of lack of human responsibility, it's pathetic as far as I'm concerned. You know, and
I think I've said before that the Dalai Lama once said you can tell the progress of a civilization by how they treat their animals.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Done preaching. Let's go on.
We haven't read where they talk about rainfall or even snow, but obviously by now there's been so much snow accumulation, the higher elevations, that it's formed glaciers that are. So we've got the glacier period and aridity.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Roger, what the Hindus think about America since we eat their mother.
Yeah.
Since they say cow is your mother.
Yeah. Who's up? I think Rodney is. Yeah.
Throughout these times of climatic change, great variations also occurred in the land plants. The seed plants first appeared, and they afforded a better food supply for the subsequently increased land animal life. The insects underwent a radical change. The resting stages evolved to meet the demands of suspended animation during winter and drought. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
The resting state,
so-
hibernation.
So this is when the seeds first appear, right? For plants. Okay. Sweetie?
Among the land animals, the frogs reached their climax in the preceding age and rapidly declined. But they survived because they could long live even in the drying up pools and ponds of these far distant and extremely trying times. During this declining frog age in Africa, the first step in the evolution of the frog into the reptile occurred. And since the land masses were still connected, this pre-reptilian creature, an air breather, spread over all the world. By this time, the atmosphere had been so changed that it served admirably to support animal respiration. It was soon after the arrival of these pre-reptilian frogs that North America was temporarily isolated, cut off from Europe, Asia, and South America.
Now this is before what? Dinosaurs, right? Okay. The gradual cooling of the ocean waters contributed to much of the destruction of oceanic life. The marine animals of those ages took temporary refuge in three favorable retreats: the present Gulf of Mexico region, the Ganges Bays of India, and the Sicilian Bay of the Mediterranean basin. And it was from these three regions that the new marine species born to adversity later went forth to replenish the seas. Right, Tim?
160 million years ago, the land was largely covered with vegetation adapted to support land animal life, and the atmosphere had become ideal for animal respiration. Thus ends the period of marine life curtailment and those testing times of biologic adversity, which eliminated all forms of life except such as had survival value, and which were therefore entitled to function as the ancestors of the more rapidly developing and highly differentiated life of the ensuing ages of planetary evolution.
And I have a picture to show you on this, but I want to mention one thing. The two words, survival value. Did you see that?
Yeah, that struck me too. I was wondering.
Okay, and that same concept, survival value, is how they describe humans which are saved, which have committed to the ascension plan, who
Exactly.
believe in God the Father and the brotherhood of man. And it's those who follow this pathway that have survival value. What do you think happens to those which do not have survival value?
They will cease to exist.
They will cease to exist, right? So that's a term that they talk about both in animal life and biologic life and human life, right? Survival value. Now, I got a picture coming up the next one here. We got one more paragraph before that. Am I up? The ending of this period of biologic tribulation, known to your students as the Permian, also marks the end of the long Paleozoic era, which covered 1/4 of the planetary history, 250 million years. Strong one. Okay, and this is a plant seed of Bohemia. Okay, and this is during the plant seed era. And we also have the reptilian era here with the frogs, right?
I thought it was just frogs.
Well, that's this is on the end of the frog age. The reptiles started to develop in Africa, right? And then they spread all over the world. Okay, and this is a reptile which developed from the frog. And here we have a fossil of a plant that lived about 270 million years ago. Tim, would you take the next one?
You know, Roger,
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't know that the salamander didn't come along yet, because that's ancient.
Yeah, it's probably close on the heels of this. Tim, would you take the next one?
Yes, the ending of this period of biologic turbulation known to your
Wait a minute.
students as the...
No, I already read that. Read the next one. The vast oceanic.
Okay, yeah, the vast ocean nursery of life on Urantia has served its purpose during the long ages when the land was unsuited to support life, before the atmosphere contained sufficient oxygen to sustain the higher land animals. The sea mothered and nurtured the early life of the realm. Now the biologic importance of the sea progressively diminishes as the second stage of evolution begins to unfold on the land, presented by Lycaria Nebadon, one of the original core assigned to Urantia.
Okay, so this guy knows because he was one of them that put the life together here, right? And next time we'll go over Urantia during the early land life era, right? On Wednesday. Now this Sunday we will have a meeting at the house, and that will cover paper 150, and it's a great paper because it talks about the Women's Corps. So y'all will enjoy that. It's a
Women's Corps?
Yep, the Women's Corps. It also talks about the rejection of Jesus in Nazareth when he speaks at the synagogue. So it's a very interesting paper. Got a lot of good stuff in it. So we will have that this Sunday, and I'll be sending out a meeting notice for that probably tomorrow. I'm still working on the slides for that, so I didn't send it out early. So, let's have a prayer. We'll close for tonight. Rodney, would you like to pray for us tonight?
Sure, Roger. Heavenly Father, as you know, we're very happy and feel fortunate we're able to come together tonight to study this great revelation, especially the history of Urantia. And we pray that we have patience and with others share this information, and in all things your will be done. Amen.
Amen. And thank you at home for joining us. Please come see us again. We'll see you next time.